Whenever someone asks me about my favorite mutton dishes from India, Haleem is always in my top 5. I've traveled to Hyderabad multiple times. I've also been in Hyderabad during the festive time of Ramzan, and Haleem is eaten in kilos. It is purely a celebratory, sinful dish. I have been in the search for great Haleem in Delhi for a very long time. But the best one I actually found from a delivery-only kitchen based out of Vasant Vihar in Delhi. This Haleem, when I ordered it for the first time, I expected a typical place that delivers Indian food to give it to you in plastic packaging, in plastic boxes, only to discover that this place has world-class, good quality packaging, which actually makes it just not a delivery of Haleem, but an entire meal experience. I've not tried their korma, that I will be trying too, so let's check it out. Hi, finally. How are you?
Shuchir.
Very well.
Welcome to Laal Haleem house.
Thank you. So this is where the magic happens.
Yes, this is our dedicated space.
So very well done. What a
Welcome.
beautiful spick and span place you've got.
Thank you, sir.
And what are we doing next?
We're going to go up, we're going to have a chat over some korma and Haleem.
Super. Cheers.
Let's go.
Haleem is a niche market in a place like Delhi.
Right.
What made you start this, and tell me what is your background and give me a little history about how and what made you do this.
My nani was from Quetta, Balochistan, and my grandfather, my nana, was from Uttarakhand.
Okay.
So Nehru was setting up a 5-star hotel for the UNESCO conferences in the early 50s. And my nana took over as the F&B head. And he worked very closely with the Muslim chefs in the kitchen. And so a lot of the Muslim influence came from the kitchens of Ashoka, where he was managing the food and beverage.
Okay.
So that's where things probably started in terms of that kind of Islamic influence that I've had on my cuisine.
However, Muslim food influences come into Delhi. Haleem is not something which is, yes, it's from the Middle East, it originated from the Middle East, but it's something which is still very quintessentially Hyderabadi.
I think quintessentially Hindustani, the idea is to pound wheat with lentils and meat with certain spices.
So how quintessentially there's harissa in Kashmir.
Right.
You have Hyderabadi Haleem, which is now GI tagged.
Right.
It's India's first meat GI tagged dish.
That's right. So one of the facets that you consider Haleem to be is al-hilm, which is gentle and forbearing, which is why during Ramzan, they break the fast with Haleem because it's a gentle dish, and which is why you probably have nihari in the morning, not in the evening.
Keeps you full the entire day. And
Correct.
also, when you go into the numbers from Hyderabad, it's almost 1,000 crore industry, and 28% of Haleem is actually exported to the Middle East during the month of Ramzan.
I think calling it, the reason why I call it Hindustani and not Hyderabadi is because the kitchens of Jahangir and Shah Jahan had Haleem. And I believe Hyderabadi Haleem probably came only in the 17th or 18th century, 200-300 years after Haleem had already been established as a dish in the Mughal kitchens.
Tell me what have you done for the last 20 years of your life?
I worked as an environmental journalist for 7 to 8 years. And it's over the last 10 years that food and music became a big part of my journey. And I continued to keep my job in the environmental studies. So food and music became my work, so to say, in the last 6 to 7 years.
Your passion, you're translating your passion into something that
I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that.
How old is Laal Haleem?
Laal Haleem House, we began in August 2020. So we've been in operation for more than 4 years.
Your model is very interesting. So Laal Haleem is not a physical restaurant. It is a box that you order. You can order for 2, you can order for 4. It has premium packaging, it has premium pricing, but it's great quality ingredients. Very passionate founder, and it tastes very, very, very good. I've eaten Haleem all over the world, I've eaten Haleem all over India. By far, Laal Haleem is my number one and favorite Haleem ever. And I love Haleem. So now let's get into what from Haleem, how did you get into korma, why korma, and what next?
Shuchir, we served Haleem as our only dish for the first 3 years. So people would ask me, ki, Bharat bhai, you're doing something else. And I said, Haleem is only making Haleem. So we had this one tagline. So we, in the last year and a half, have now introduced Mur Korma as our second meal box along with...
which I have not tried yet.
Along with mutton Haleem. So, बातें कम करें, थोड़ा खाना खाएं, खाने का इंतजाम करूं?
Done?
चलो. Lunch is served, sir.
Wow. So this is your chicken korma. I would have expected a mutton korma. We'll get to that later.
Sure.
Oh, this is my favorite, the buttery Haleem of Laal Haleem. Beautiful. Very hungry.
Our house specialty, the okra thins,
The unique.
condiments.
So typically, I've never ever had Haleem before. Laal Haleem with okra slims.
Right, that's the family specialty. We do a kachumbar with the korma because I feel
with the korma.
Korma tends to be a little heavier because one of the integral, you mentioned yogurt is very integral to a korma. What's also integral to a korma is fried onions. So there is a fair amount of heatiness to a korma. So we like to have a nice cool kachumbar to go along with it to sort of balance that out.
And then typically Haleem is always had with fried shallots, with mirchi, with adrak, and with a squeeze of lime on top. That's how I like it. And then you end it with, typically you break your fast with a khajur and then you have your meal.
Kuch meetha ho jaye at the end, so it's just that little bite.
Done. So that's what you also send in your box?
We send with our box.
So basically okra and this comes with the Haleem and the kachumbar comes with the korma.
So there's a wonderful story of a senior kawal who passed away a few years ago. He would always say, "Gaane ki baad mein, khane pe aa jao." So shall we?
Very hungry. Oh, my favorite. I mean, I should be starting with the korma because I've not tried that, but I cannot resist this Haleem.
Help yourself to some.
Yes, please. I'm going to use my hands since it's just us eating. I usually keep these on the side and I don't put it on top because the top I like my shallots. Perfect.
Romali. There you go.
So Romali. And some ginger, some chilies.
And the green chilies, we get rid of the seeds, but some people like
some
a little more heat.
Lime. Tell me more about the preparation of Haleem. Is it a family recipe or is this something you've done on your own?
I've grown up eating Haleem. You know, my parents knew a lot of Muslim families, so we were in and out and we were exchanging recipes and, conversations about food and processes is good.
Very good.
And, a Haleem is a dish that we didn't eat a lot, but one did have as a youngster. And somehow I felt I couldn't find a good Haleem to eat in Delhi. And that was one sort of market gap which became a reason.
But was this something that you were eating on a weekly basis at home or when would you be eating Haleem?
No, not at all. It's just visiting certain people who had it in their homes. And I found a lot of the Haleems to be highly fragrant and spicy. It just so happens that after one had already created the Haleem, and I'll explain how we do make ours, is a Persian manuscript in the 16th century mentions Haleem without any fragrant or aromatic spices.
I'm not sure if it's a misconception, but the whole concept of Haleem is that, you have to ghoto it for 8 to 12 hours. So what is your process?
We finish our cook in 4 hours.
Okay.
We don't take 8 to 12 hours as the Hyderabadi GI tag is based on if it's not cooked overnight for 12 hours on firewood in a copper vessel. Without that, it's not Hyderabadi Haleem. We don't follow the GI tag, we don't follow the process. I've read it because I happened to be making Haleem only after one had already developed the made.
So this is your unique recipe and your unique flavor, which is my favorite.
In Urdu, there's a term which is Khuda Nematwandi, which means it's something that you've been blessed with. Okay. And I can't say where it's come from, who I've developed with, but it's something that over time has now come to our table.
I'm gonna dig into the korma. Let's go. Take a nice piece. So so you want to tell me a little bit about your korma?
Absolutely. We grew up making korma with mutton, right? When I started experimenting with chicken, and especially leg and thigh, which I feel works really well together in terms of cooking times, we just took a bite of the first thigh piece that I cooked the korma with, and I just thought it was a marriage made in heaven. I loved it, and so
The thigh is actually a fat. It's one of the fattier parts of the chicken.
Right, and then of course the fragrant gravy of
Wow.
the nutmeg and the mace and the saffron.
So this I can taste more spices, while your Haleem is very balanced, very one-dimensional.
Right.
Korma I can get multiple spices and multiple levels in my mouth. So in my nose I'm getting the saffron, in my mouth I'm getting the mace, I'm getting the texture of the fattiness of the chicken, and whatever fat is also gone into, although chicken is not very fatty, but the curry is very perfectly spiced.
There's a wonderful phrase that I read कि मसाले ऐसे भुनो जैसे दुश्मन का कलेजा. So you have to passionately sort of work on very low heat to make sure that the spices all blend together with the fried onions and the yogurt.
It's just meat and a curry, but the curry also has so many things in it which actually in a typical korma, this is perfectly balanced.
This is perhaps for me a very gentle korma. Otherwise, kormas can be very rich and very oily, right? It's the king of curries.
It is a king. Now tell me, if you're going to die tomorrow, what would be the last dish be? No, you cannot name your own food.
I would probably have a khajur Ganga Jal and say Ram Naam Satya.
Khajur Ganga Jal and say Ram Naam Satya. Very secular. There's Muslim influenced food by a Hindu guy who does baithaks and mehfils at home. That's what this country is all about. It's about secularism and how food does not belong to one caste, one gender, one religion. Food is supposed to be shared no matter where it's come from, and anyone has a right to interpret it the way they want. Cheers.